I'm standing on the empty stage of the old cow barn where I first began my American career back in 1953, 1954. I can't quite remember the year, but I do remember the play. It was Home as the Hero, bound for Broadway, and its star was the young and irresistible Peggy Ann Garner, with whom I fell secretly and hopelessly in love. I'm looking out across the footlights into the charming old auditorium with its red plush pews and its solid altar-like railings in the balcony. Cozy and welcoming. It hasn't changed one little bit in the 50 years since I first played here. Now, around the corner of the auditorium is the tiny lobby, whose walls are a living reminder of the extraordinary accumulation of history this place generated during the Langner years. I mean, no other summer theater in North America can boast a richer legacy. I mean, look who played here. It's amazing. The great Ethel Barrymore, the fabulous Russian star Nazimova, whom you could see in Ghosts for 55 cents, and perhaps the greatest American actress of them all, Lorette Taylor, and another great lady of the theater, Eva Le Gallienne, who was a Western resident for years, and then theater legends such as Ruth Gordon and Ina Claire, and the Gish sisters, Lillian and Dorothy. Olivia de Havilland played here. And then the men, Claude Rains, José Ferrer, Maurice Evans, Burgess Meredith, or even Montgomery Clifton. Marlon Brando played here. It doesn't stop.
And all this was happening in that creaky old red barn that stood in an apple orchard beside the Boston Post Road. Creaky though it was, it didn't stop the great singer-actor Paul Robeson from giving his Emperor Jones, nor did it halt the Playhouse debut of Henry Fonda in The Virginian, or the stage debut of Gene Kelly in magazine Page. It didn't deter for one moment Thornton Wilder from appearing in his own masterpieces Our Town and Skin of Our Teeth, and nothing could ever stop Tallulah Bankhead from taking her curtain calls with a pet lion cub draped around her neck. Lawrence Langner and his wife Armina were ambitious and courageous, presenting works of Strindberg, Chekhov, Wilder, and O'Neill. It was no longer a local summer theater, Langner wrote, but a place that set the larger American theater as the ultimate goal of its productions. One night, Richard Rodgers was in the audience watching John Ford's production of Green Grow the Lilacs, which he and Hammerstein subsequently turned into Guess What?
Where the wind comes sweeping down the plain.
Another visit from these two giants was on the occasion of Lee Strasberg's production of Lillian. It didn't take long for them to turn that charming Molnar play into
If I loved you, time and again I would try to say.
The Langners produced them both, so it is quite safe to say that they also helped change the face of the modern American musical.
So in 1959, Jim McKenzie took the helm. Now, the Langner years was a hard act to follow. Nevertheless, for the next 40 years, McKenzie single-handedly managed to keep this dear old Playhouse alive.
Under the circumstances, the McKenzie era was forced to concentrate more on commercial fare, but still amazing quality shone through with the works of such authors as Tennessee Williams, Arthur Miller, Neil Simon, and Noel Coward, and new plays by Edward Albee, Lanford Wilson, and David Mamet. And as always, the roster of acting talent was top draw. Helen Hayes, Colleen Dewhurst, Geraldine Page, E.G. Marshall, George Grizzard, Richard Kiley, Celeste Holm, Robert Morse. The memorable list never ends. Under Jim's banner, the 60s saw the stage debuts of Jane Fonda, and later Liza Minnelli. Butterflies Are Free had its world premiere here. But despite all these riches, storm clouds kept appearing. It became a struggle to survive. But McKenzie held onto the wheel with all his might, and then in 1999, after 40 long years, he felt his steering days were over. So he waved goodbye. He had faithfully served the Playhouse and the public with honor, and far beyond any call of duty.
So now sat expectation in the air. And a lady we all know and respect, who for years has been an undeniable force in the community, was ready and willing to take over.
The Woodward years were off and running. Gene Wilder came here in Don't Make Me Laugh. Here he is with Carol Kane. There were new productions of Athol Fugard's Harold and the Boys, and new plays such as David Wiltsey's The Good German and Princess Turandot by Darko Trezniak. Coward's rollicking comedy Hay Fever, and an enchanting revival of Wilder's Our Town, directed by James Norton and starring a well-known fixture round these here parts, Newman's Own Paul. The production went to Broadway just like the old days and enjoyed a hugely successful run. This season, Richard Dreyfuss, Jill Clayburgh, and a strong company performed Miller's All My Sons. The New York Times said it had power and incandescence. The scope of Doug Hughes's staging is vast. Everybody is functioning at full throttle. They could have been describing the present momentum at the Playhouse. Now, the cycle is complete. For a smashing musical version of The Streets of New York, the opening play of 1931 ended the 2003 season, the last entertainment to be seen in the old structure.
Restoration and preservation are key words now to restore not just the building, but the high artistic standards and adventurous spirit of the early years, and to preserve the wealth of history that has been made here, and the history that will continue to be made here for as long as there's a public and an imagination to stir the mind.
As Shakespeare said it, there is the Playhouse now, there must you sit, and thence we will convey you straight and bring you back, charming the narrow seas to give you gentle pass. For if we may, we'll not offend one stomach with our play.